Student, today we are going to start class 7th SST History chapter number 7 Tribal and Nomadic Communities part 2. So student, in the previous topic we had discussed about the several tribal groups and nomadic groups, as as we have also discussed what are the characteristics, what they do for the earning, how they survive, and what kind of tradition or culture they follows. Now, in this video, we'll learn about the different communities that prevails in the uh, Indian subcontinent. Especially, we will talk about the Gonds, and in the next topic, we'll read about the Ahoms. First of all, starting with the Gonds. So during the medieval period, early medieval period, the Gond resided the areas around the Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh under the Kalachuri dynasty. So during that time, Kalachuri dynasty was there, and the rule on them, they were uh, the subordinate kingdoms uh, of the Kalachuri dynasty, those who are living in the Gonds. Especially Gonds lived in those areas where that is covered with the jungles. As you know very well, the tribal community lives in jungle areas. So these Gonds were living in the near the jungle areas and surrounded the jungle areas. One of the famous tribal groups was the Gond, after whom those areas was often called as Gondwana land. Basically, the Gond community lives over there, so because of that only, that place is known as Gondwana land, or the country which is inhabited by the Gonds. Means the Gond community lives over there. It is said that they might be probably migrated between the 10th and 12th century over there from southern part of India. Means from the southern part of India they reached over there, and it is also believed that they might be agriculturists. They might be agriculturists. Some were doing agriculture, some were doing shifting cultivation, some grew cereals, some had herded cattle, and some worked as laborers. So basically, these communities who lived over there, they do the agriculture means they produce several kind of cereals. Some of them doing the shifting cultivation. What is the shifting cultivation? That we had already discussed in the previous video. The shifting cultivation is what select the tribal community select a patch of land, they cut it, clear it, and then burn the remain of the plants, and then when the rain occurs, the ashes mix with the soil and it provides the soil the fertility to the soil. And after using that land, after agriculture, after 2 3 years, when the fertility started lessen down, so they leave the place and move toward the next place. So this is the shifting cultivation that is done by the Gond community. Some people herded cattle, some people were having the animals like goat, sheep, cow. Those who herd, and the whatever the product they get from those animals, they sell it to the market, or they exchange it to the market. And some were worked as a laborers, means they also very powerful, physically powerful, so they used to work in several areas, whether the construction house, whether the farming it is to be done, or the mining is to be done. So several area they worked over there. The administrative is okay, the language which they used to speak, that was Gondi language. According to their community, the language was known as Gondi language because of the Gond community. So let us start with the administrative history of the Gond community. During the 13th century, the Kalachuris were started decline. So when they were the part of the Kalachuri, they were under the Kalachuri. So during the time of 13th century, when the Kalachuris started decline, so this gives the chance to the several Gond chieftains to establish the independent kingdom of their own. Means they do not wanted to be the part of the main Kalachuri dynasty, though the Kalachuri dynasty was declined. So they decided to remain independent without any other main ruler. So it is said that the most of the southern and western part of the Kalachuri kingdom, the Gond chiefs, they declare themselves as an independent. Gond chief used to build their capital near the hills or a river, or they get automatically they get automatically protection from the enemies. As I said, as you have already know very well, if the strategic location of any place, it helps them for every aspects. Like if they you had already seen in the story of Hampi, the Hampi was situated where it is surrounded by one side river, one side hill, and the other side was covered with a forest. Likewise, these communities also establish their kingdom accordingly, that they can protect themselves by the enemies. So there are some of the capitals which were established by the Gond community, like Devgarh, Kerala, Mandla, or Chanda. So these were some of the capitals that were established by the Gond community. So these people, those who started ruling, they had the several palaces with them, and they also constructed large forts, and also walled city. What is the meaning of walled city? The whole city is under the wall, means the city is surrounded by the wall. That is also been found in the Gond community. So how as you already know that why people used to construct something, why people used to construct monument, to just show their power and wealth, means how much money they earn and how much they are powerful, that is visible accordingly to the monuments. So the forts and palaces and others, whatever the construction they have done, it shows their power and wealth. Sometimes they assume the title, the Rajput titles. Rajput title means, why they assume Rajput titles? That they can be recognized as a Rajputs. So you will see the example of here only when we read about the Gond, particular Gond community. So there you will understand that the people of the Gond community, or the ruler of the Gond community, they assume the Rajput titles, that they can be recognized as a Rajputs or the Kshatriyas. Now, one of this famous or biography, Akbar Nama. So Akbar Nama is the biography of Akbar, and it is written by Abul Fazl. So Akbar Nama mentioned one of its the Gond communities rule or the kingdom, that was Garh Katanga. So Garh Katanga was the one of the Gond kingdom, which comprises 70,000 villages. You can imagine one single kingdom of Gond community is comprising 70,000 of villages. Means that there were much more Gond communities are there. They had their own separate privileges, separate provinces. So likewise, this Garh Katanga is comprising of 70,000 villages, and these villages are and the Garh Katanga have the well structured administrative system. So administration system is very well. How it is done, the administration, it is done on the basis of division. Like you have already heard in several chapters, that the kingdom is divided into province is divided into districts is divided into villages. You have already read. Current day also, country is divided in state is divided into district is divided into villages. Likewise, the Garh Katanga was divided into Garh, the whole kingdom. Basically, the whole kingdom was divided into Garh, and Garh were divided into Chaurasis. So what is Chaurasis? Chaurasi is a Hindi numeric, that is the 84. It is a Hindi numeric, that means the 84. So Chaurasi is what? It is a comprising of 84 villages, and Chaurasi were subdivided into Barhot. Barhot is what? Barhot is the group of 12 villages. So means that in one Chaurasi there are 7 Barhot. In one Chaurasi there are 7 Barhot, because if we multiply 7 into 12, so 84 will be there. So for in one Chaurasi or 184 villages, they comprise 7 Barhot, means 7 group of 12 people, 7 group of 12 group of 7 villages basically. So this is the uh, concept, and this is a division for the administrative purpose. Now you can see the map. There you can see the Gonds and Gondwana area. So Gondwana area is what there, that is near what we have studied, that Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. So these were the part of the Gond communities where they live. Now, according to book, we have to also see that Garh Katanga, what we had studied about the Garh Katanga, is comprising of 70,000 villages. Okay, so we have to read about one of the king of Garh Katanga. His name was Aman Das. So Aman Das was the ruler of Gond community or the Gond tribe. He assumed the title of Sangram Shah. Sangram means fight or war. Shah means the winner, means the person who won the war, that is considered as Sangram Shah. So the Garh Katanga ruler, his name was Aman Das. He assumed the title of Sangram Shah in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Currently, if we talk about, so it was in Madhya Pradesh. Sangram Shah, who belongs to the Rajgond dynasty in the central India. So he was the part of Gond community. He was the 48th ruler of the Gond dynasty, and during his reign, he had conquered 52 forts called Garh to straighten and spread the Gond empire. So you can imagine 52 fort is so huge number of forts that were conquered by the Aman Das. So you can easily judge that the Aman Das was so powerful ruler of the Gond community that he captured a lot of places, lot of forts, and not only fought with them, he also done matrimonial alliances. What is matrimonial alliances? Means he get married his son or daughter to the other rulers. So one of his son, his name was Dalpat Shah. He married his son to the daughter of Sal Bahan, the ruler of Chandel Rajput. That is he was the ruler of Mahoba, and his daughter's name was Durgavati, Princess Durgavati. So Princess Durgavati was the daughter of Salmahan, who was the Chandela ruler, and he belongs to the Mahoba dynasty. He belongs to the Chandela dynasty, and he ruled at the Mahoba. So he married his daughter to Dalpat Shah, the son of Aman Das. All of a sudden, in the year 1548, when Dalpat Shah died, so the whole power came into the hand of Rani Durgavati, and she left. She was alone with her son. So she took the whole power in her hand and she started ruling over there. A feisty and courageous ruler, she was instrumental in initiating many projects for the welfare of the people. So it is said that the Rani Durgavati was so courageous, so feisty, that she protected her empire, as well as she took a major initiative for her subjects. Like you have already studied in the various chapters, that the many rulers has done several kind of public welfares, like Sher Shah, what they done, Akbar, what he done, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, what he done. So what the civic amenities they provided to their subjects, that is also provided by Rani Durgavati. Uh, at the time of Rani Durgavati, Akbar was ruler. Akbar was the Mughal emperor during that time, and uh, before that, you have to also understand that the rulers, whosoever the rulers is there, so the ruler wanted to conquer the nearby territories. Why they wanted to conquer the nearby territories? Because they wanted to expand their territories. So many of the rulers wanted to conquer the Gond kingdom. Some of the Sultanate period, some of the Mughal dynasty, but they were not succeed because the Gond communities were so powerful, so they do not succeed. So why they wanted to conquer the community, basically Gond tribe? The reason is that if they won over the Gond community, so that Gond community or the Gond kingdom will provide the route to the southern part of the India. So during the reign of Akbar, Akbar sent several alliances to the Gond kingdoms, but they do not accept it. So all of a sudden, Akbar sent his army with the commander Asaf Khan to conquer the Gond kingdom of Gadkatanga. But Rani Durgavati did not accepted this, and she fought, means whatever the alliances the Akbar sent, she did not accept it, and she fought very bravely in that battle. But it was said that she was died, that Rani Durgavati was died in this battle, and the Gond kingdom was lost to the hand of the Mughal emperor. So basically there are two more points that you have to understand. First point, you have already understand that they wanted to conquer the Gond kingdom, that they can expand their territory. Second reason was that it provide the route to the southern part of the India, as well as the third one, they get the enormous amount of booty, enormous amount of treasure from the Gond kingdom. So how the Gond kingdom managed this much money? So the reason is that the Gond community prepared the elephant and sell it to the other regional kingdoms. So from there they earn money, and with those money they run their kingdom. So this attracted the Mughal rulers, and that's why they attacked on the Gond kingdoms and defeated the Rani Durgavati. Okay, when the Aurangzeb died, so the Gond kingdoms, which were the part of Mughal Empire, the local chiefs they started rebelling. The Gond local chiefs they started rebelling against the Mughal Empire, because after the death of Aurangzeb, none of the capable ruler is left to maintain the whole strengthen the whole Mughal Empire. So this gives the chance to the Gond kingdom or the Gond chief to establish their own independent kingdom. But slowly and gradually, the Gond kingdom is also declined because of the Marathas annexation. So Marathas were started annexing the part of the Gond kingdom, and later on it becomes the part of the English or the England later on. Now, moving to the society of the Gond kingdom. So the Gond led very simple life. They built the kacha houses with the help of the mud, timber, bamboo, thatches, and also they prepared the cattle shed that their cattle, the cow or the other animals, can sit over there. The Gond were divided into four sagas, that is a group. Okay, there's a story. There's a story regarding this saga concept. Saga concept is what the it was said that they're the main deity of the all of the tribal communities were Lord Shiva. So it is related to the Lord Shiva and the deity Parvati. It is said that they had one child, but somehow Lord Shiva sent the Parvati and his child to one of the cave, and they were not allowed to came out. Okay, these stories are in the form of oral story. So how much it is correct and how much what is the possibility of the correction of that particular story, it is not accurate, but it is said that this story begins like that only. The goddess Parvati and his one of the child was staying in that cave. One of the main one of the hero of the Gond community visited in that cave, and they managed to remove those they managed to take out the cave, rescue the Parvati and his child, and when they rescued, they were came out from the cave as a four-person. They came out as a four-person, and they uh, they started they came out as a four-person, and so these four-person is the group which were divided into four sagas, each with its own deity and priest. Means every that four members, those who came out of the caves, they established their own kingdom, they established their own empire, and though they were the same, they were belongs to the same community, but they established their separate rule, separate kingdom, and they have their own deity, and they have their own priest. Priest is what? Priest is the Raj Pandit or the Raj Guru who helps the ruler to in the religious matters basically. And each sagas were divided into clans. So clans were there. So the division of that family, the four people, those who become apart, they started living in a particular area, and after their generation, they separated from each other after some time. Each clan had its own Raja or Rai. So the clan is divided, and every clan has its own ruler or the chief, that is the Raja or Rai. They were related to one another through rituals and social norms. So how they were related, as the story told, that they were the part of, they were the four people were there, and they were together. So they were related, and the rituals, their social custom, their the culture were almost same, but they had differentiate with each other. Some of the part where they differ from each other according to the geographical feature, and some rituals were changed, some rituals were they have decided their own. So this is the kind of society. The villages of each clan had its headman and council which upheld the Gond custom. So basically, the villages, like you have seen in the village panchayat, that the village is headed by Pradhan, and the council are there to help the Pradhan basically. The tribal communities people, they get married at earliest, means they married at the very early age. The widow remarriage and divorce were not uncommon. Not uncommon is a phrase that is used that it might be possibilities that the widow remarriage would be there, and the divorce system might be also there in the Gond society or the Gond community. Now moving toward the religion, what religion they followed. So religion is like that, they they worship their own distinct group of god and spirit. So they also worship the good as well as bad or the evil as a god, and they also worship the Hindu god and goddesses. They worship the high god known as Pershapen. So Pershapen is known as Badadev or the Sri Shambhu Mahadev. So Sri Shambhu Mahadev named is given to the Lord Shiva. So every clan has the Pershapen, and Pershapen is belongs to the Mahadev, that is the Lord Shiva. Each village had its village guardian. So every village had a village guardian god and village mother goddess. So this is the common thing that is found in every tribal communities. There is a village mother and village guardian. So these are there. Village guardian is a protector, and village mother is meant for the worshipping, that the mother can help. Mother can raise their children. Raise their children means they provide the specific amount of water and agricultural product and many more things. So these kind of gods were worshipped during the celebration of the festival. So every occasion is a festival, and they used to worship those gods, whether it is Badadev or the village guardian or the other type of. Sometimes they used to worship the hill as a god, the trees as a god, the animals as a god, the river or the water source as a god. So they used to worship those because they were so aware about the nature and the importance of the nature. So they worship them, and accordingly they do not harm the nature. But uh, the reason is that we people are harmed. We people used to cut down the trees, and we people establish several house buildings and several things. But these tribal community do not. They love their nature, they love their environment, so they do not cut. They only worship the worship their culture as well as environment. They also worship the family and household god. Every family has a different god. Every family, every villages had the god of field and god of cattle. So there is a god of cattle, also god of field. There you can see the picture, some paintings are there. There you can see one is the mid one is belongs to the animal is there lying over there, and there you can see some birds are there on the tree and many other animals. And the so these picture was, it shows that they worship not only god, they worship the animals as well as the trees and the birds and the other things which is relatable, directly relatable to the nature. The village priests were known as Devari. So in every village there is a priest. So that priest is known as Devari, who performed the sacrifices. Sacrifices means bali dena. So priest used to sacrifices the animal and do the rituals. That is the part of the village custom. That is the part of their community. So this is the work of this is the work of Diwali. The head of the household typically carried out the family ceremonies. So it is the responsibility of the head, the main head family member, whether the family is belongs to the matrilineal or the patrilineal. So the head of the family will worship or the carry out the family ceremony. They shared the close relationship with nature and reflected in their song, dances, and the form of religious worship. So as I told you that they whatever they do, whatever their work is done, that is on the basis of the conservation of the nature. Because if they do not conserve the nature, so this will create the problem. They also used to sing and dance that reflect the protection of the nature. So in their song also, in their dance also, they wanted to show that how the environment is important, how the nature is important, and how we can preserve those important natural resources that is present in their dance and other cultural activities. Economy. So economy is very important. There you can see two grains are there. So this is the two grains. One is kodo and other one is kutki. So there you can see the kodo and kutki was the staple food of the Gond community. They used to eat it, and it is a staple food. Staple food means that we like used to eat wheat or the flour of the wheat as well as rice. So kodo and kutki was the staple food for the Gond community. They also practiced farming, as you know very well. The every tribal communities, those who settled at some place, they used to do the farming. And some communities or the tribal communities, they also work in a forest. The vegetables either collected or from the forest or grown in the kitchen garden. So they used to grow vegetables in their field, and some vegetables were collected from the forest. They gathered honey from the forest. Honey is also very important food article in the tribal communities. They used to practice the shifting cultivation, and they also used to do the cattle rearing, hunting, fishing, carpentry. They also used to do the metal work, making the bamboo basket, and other occupations were important. So why they do these things? They do these things to just earn the money so that they can fulfill their family needs. And these products were they used to exchange to the other people or the other communities, those who are the living side by side the Gond community. So they exchange and they get the things which is not which is they are not able to produce in their own community. So they exchange those things. Now you can see dress. So the Gond communities, men's wear dhoti, and women wore the soft cotton sari along with blouse. Man and woman, they both worn the ornaments made up of silver, and also tattooing is very popular. So tattoo, you can see the on the woman's hand the tattoo is made. And during the festival, women used to wear the colored dress, and they used to also wear the colored glass bangles, you know very well. Necklaces also they used to wear, that is made up of small black beads means black moti. So they used to wear so that they can look good. So this is the dresses of the Gond community. Now moving to the entertainment, how they entertain themselves. So entertainment is in the every form of ritual, because whatever they do, whatever the rituals, whatever the cultural activities are there, it is just singing and dancing. So celebration for the Gond always means singing and dancing. They used to sing and they used to dance. All festivals were closely connected to the agricultural practice, included the animal sacrifices. So whatever the ceremonies, whatever the cultural activities of the Gond communities was there, it is on the basis of the agricultural nature. It's connected with the directly with the nature. If they do not, they were born to protect. They were bonded to protect the environment. So they, whatever the activity they do, it is on the basis of the of the protection of the environment. Good and bad spirit were supposed to inhabited in the area where they lived. So it is said that there were there were, as I told you, that good and evil, both kind of spirit were worshipped in the Gond communities or the tribal people. So like that only. Folk tales, dance, song, cockfighting were the features of the festival. So whatever the festival is there in the Gond community, they used to folk tales, means the storytelling will be there, and they used to dance, they used to sing, and cockfighting. The cock, they used to fight with the the cocks of the different group of people. They make the cock fight with each other so that they can enjoy. The winner cock will be awarded. So this is the one of the important game that is played during the entertainment of the Gond communities. Dandari dancers, they perform stories from the Gond mythology. So there you can see this is the picture of Dandari dancers. So what they are doing, they are dancing, and they are telling their story also through the dance and through the song. Gond bands or the Pardhans narrated the legends and myths and history. So this is one of the important thing that you have to understand, that the stories, the Gond community do not have the written form of information. Everything it is in the form of oral or verbal. So the stories, the incidents, whatever were the part of the Gond communities, it all reflected, it all transferred from one generation to another in the form of verbal or oral. Sometimes this might be improved, or if I say, some people might be forget, some people might not be forget. So this can be chances that everything is not transformed from one generation to another generation, but almost all of the things, it is said that the whole story, the whole song and dance form, everything is transferred from one generation to another generation. And there is one Gond bands or the Pardhans, it is their responsibility to tell the stories and the stories of the legends and the history of the Gond community to their next generation. So this is the topic that we have to discuss in this video. Now what you have to do is that you have to write about the religion and the worship god, the name of the worshipped god which is worshipped by the Gond community, that you have to write in your homework copy. Thank you, students.